Hi Stephen Tip. Evening all on PlayChat and YouTube, streaming to YouTube as well. Okay, there has been some fantastic games being played in the Norway tournament. I thought this is a good opportunity to check the decisive ones. Actually, I like looking at the decisive games. That's a personal preference, but of great note is Simon Ashton, who actually is a pro football player in the past, representing Norway several times. He's had some fantastic draws against much higher rated opposition. Maybe next week or the week after we could examine some of those draws. But this week I thought it would be interesting to have a look first at the decisive, the wins. Okay, so the first one which caught my interest and imagination at a personal level is Sergey Karjakin against Alexander Grischuk. I'm sometimes a bit uncomfortable playing against Grunfeld defence. When I played in the Four Nations Chess League, I had a disaster Grunfeld. I lost quite quickly. You need to know the theory quite often, I think, especially against the Grunfeld defence when playing white. So Sergey playing white, Grischuk played the Grunfeld here, which is this early d5 move. C takes was played. This is fairly standard stuff. Knight takes here, bishop g7, and okay, let's check live book, connect to live book here. The main move is knight f3, bishop c4, second most popular. This is the third most popular move, bishop e3 here. That was played. Black strikes with c5. White just plays now rook c1, queen a5. This is very theoretical. Queen d2. Oh, hi Thomas Fid is on stream. My clubmate from Barnet and Muswell Hill is a very strong player. Is here. So after castles, knight f3. This is all theoretical so far. So black's play is all coordinating pressure on d4. It's all about trying to keep white's centre under pressure. Now the most popular move here is apparently d5. 46 games. There's bishop e2. This one is slightly rarer, knight g5, so 16 on live book. And now black played quite an unusual move. Usually c takes is played, but knight a6 was played. Now h3, the bishop drops back, bishop d3, and things get quite interesting now after rook ac8. Already white can't castle, I think, with the knight not protecting d4. And let's put on the Kb4 here to examine this. There's pressure. Let's put on the Kb4 here. If white just castles, that's already a blunder, by the way, I think, because of c takes, queen takes, bishop takes. So white can't routinely castle. He plays d5. And black plays a forcing move c4. White doesn't. White just moves the bishop to b1 here. Now we see knight c5. And now let's have a look at castling again in this position. I think actually this might be playable. I don't think there's any drastic punishment. But black apparently is technically doing quite well with bishop b5. Maybe knight d3 on the cards next. So okay, so here bishop d4 was played, so leaving the king in the center, you might not think is too risky in this position. It doesn't seem as though black can really exploit this at the moment, but there's a slight issue now from a materialistic point of view, that black actually played bishop takes d4, and if queen takes d4, this wasn't played actually. This looks like a plausible move actually. Yeah, it seems as though this isn't too bad either. Maybe it's about equal. But white actually played what, from a computer point of view, this is like a mistake. C takes D, because it allows a very powerful looking tactic. And It's funny, people on Facebook and social media think, well, everyone with engines think, you know, did White play badly this game? But to be honest, when I saw this game after C3, yeah, Black is using C3 as a very dangerous forcing move to win material now. Because if Queen takes C3, then Knight D3 check is really terrible, winning the Queen next. So that forces Rook takes C3, because if the Queen moves, well, here, let's say Queen C2, Bishop A4 is pretty nasty. So this is going to happen. Takes here, Knight D3 check again. It's all pretty nasty stuff. Just winning the Queen. So basically this is forced. Rook takes C3. So Black is forcibly winning the exchange with an interesting tactic. I guess most of you have... actually, what's happening here? Can I just make sure this is okay? I guess most of you have seen this game and can guess what Black played. So this, in this position, do you know what Black played in this? Well, let's make it interesting. All right, okay, Thomas. I was going to give everyone a few seconds, but it's been mentioned. Yeah, Black plays a forcing move, Knight D3 check. But you know, honestly, when I was checking this game, I thought, okay, it wins the exchange, but White's got quite a nice centre. So Rook takes D3 is played, allowing this check using the pin to win the Rook here. But it's not the end of the world. You know, after King E2, Queen takes. Okay, Black has won the exchange. But the pawn situation, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, pawn for the exchange. It doesn't seem like much. But you know, these pawns are actually, to me, they look quite impressive. I thought this would be quite easy to play for White from this position because the rooks are not really connected. White's next move reveals queenside pressure. It's just these pawns in particular that they seem to just intuitively inspire some dynamic play. The rook's also protecting this as well as attacking at B7. So Black played B5, and okay, now Knight F3 was played, and it looks as though Knight E5 would be quite useful. That's the prize. Black plays F6 stopping, I think in particular Knight E5. Now Knight E1 is played, and you know, maybe so it closes off the rook for a moment. A5. If okay, in this position though, instead of A5, let's imagine Rook C8. Let's just say, what if Rook C8? I think this is okay. Knight D3. Maybe going into C5 is useful for White here. Anyway, so engines at the moment favour Black slightly here. Rook C3, Rook C8. Now White wants to extend the inertia of these pawns, and this move helps that with Rook C5 to be able to take here as a dream for these pawns. Black doesn't want to do that. I think it'll almost immediately be virtually losing, or I mean, it looks impressive. I think the evaluation has already changed drastically there. So Black, pardon me, Black plays B4, and now we see Bishop D3. And here now the engine has changed its tune. Actually, it's about equal. So what's happened here? Instead of B4, was this a mistake? It does weaken, I suppose, the squares. Is it technically like a tiny mistake? Maybe on the micro inspection of this game. I'm not sure what Black's doing though. If Black's not playing B4, is there a constructive plan here? But anyway, B4 was played, so we have Bishop D3, and to me this looks like, you know, quite a pleasant position now for White. Let's just examine something. If there's a tactical trap here of taking this pawn, by the way, if that was taken, can you guess what Black could play in this position? So Black to play here, if I gave you 20 seconds, what would you play with Black? White didn't take this. So so there is a reason here that this wasn't taken. Do you know what black would play in this position if I give you 20 seconds? Okay, starting from now. Any ideas? Yeah, okay, Sundiver. Yeah, I think you got the right idea. Well done. Yeah, on stream. Oh, is it quicker than usual? Okay, that was 20 seconds. Rook takes e1, embarrasses this loose piece, but even this position is not, you know, entirely lost or anything. I think because of these pawns, my Houdini just rates this about equal almost. Rook a7, bishop b5, because we're getting another key pawn here. Or not. Actually, even better than taking on e7 is apparently rook b7. And if the bishop moves, now take here, slight improvement for some reason. And it's still not, you know, with these pawns, you know, there's dynamic potential going on. But anyway, white didn't take on a5. White played, sorry, that's why the bishop kind of now, after bishop d3, white is threatening this without any repercussion. So that was moved. And then we see rook a5, and black plays b3 now. Looks like a really dangerous passed pawn. That's taken. Now white really wants to get behind this pawn. So here, let's try and maybe go here, hitting the bishop as well. Rook d8 was played, and the rook's behind the pawn. Okay, rook a8. Interesting move, offering the bishop here. Now, if that wasn't played, I think there are some plausible other moves actually, but this is very interesting then to get to sacrifice that bishop, and it is taken. We see the check, king c3, because this knight's a problem. Rook takes e1, so white's the exchange down. But he must be a bit pleased to take this dangerous pawn now. Rook takes f2. And again, I mean, my intuition is saying these pawns are still really, really dangerous in theory. And it's only the exchange down. Well, for a pawn, okay, for a pawn. But, you know, because they're center pawns, and especially now after rook takes e7, this d pawn and this king can start getting into coordination with the rook. And this king is stranded at the moment. So white's got a lot of potential here. Greater king activity. Dangerous passed pawn. So I think it's more difficult for black to play this in some ways. So rook e3. King c4. Rook d2. Engine assesses this as about equal at this point. 0.00, funny enough. Bishop b1. Rook b2. Mistake. This could be a mistake. So at move 37, and I'm going to check with another source at move 37. Yes, this is given as a mistake by some sources. This move rook b2, a critical mistake, believe it or not. It requires accuracy here. If black apparently had played rook e1, then apparently this is equal. d6, for example, king f8. Here, rook ed1. It's interesting how this could be equal potentially. Apparently, this is the case, that there's a potential equality here, like this position. But now we really things really ramp up after rook b2. So I think this is the critical mistake for these pawns. White now plays fantastic idea, d6. This pawn is just really dangerous. So the king steps in to stop d7. We can just take that. Now the bishop moves. This is not the most accurate move either. Move 39 apparently. Well, white can actually take here and offer the bishop. If takes, then d7. This pawn's already really dangerous. Just shows that. So anyway, bishop d3 was played, rook d2, and the bishop drops to f1. So white really wants to play takes to get away from the king, and d7, rook a3, and now a very good move it seems. If rook takes h7, this wasn't played, then the check is really annoying. So white bypasses this check with with king b4. The rook moves, and now the bishop steps in. Bishop c4, rook c1, and now we see check, king e8, d7 check, king d8, and white's advantage is getting very good now after king c5, believe it or not, because the king can now step in here to threaten mate. So this kind of thing doesn't do anything now because of king d6 and mating. That's how strong the activity of white's king and the rook are, and the pawn. There's a mating net there. So black has to trade carefully. I think this is almost the only move. King c7. So rook takes h7. Rook cd1. Now white just plays d5. Rook c1. It looks as though, isn't this bishop vulnerable? It doesn't matter here. And apparently this is a very strong move as well. g4. That's very interesting. Waiting move. Almost waiting for this. It can't be played. It clamps down also on f5 and maybe potentially get another pawn. But if rook c2 was played here, rook dc2, then this is really crushing. d8 and then king d6, threatening mate. And say king e8, then check. And this is just overwhelming, this position, where the king's really active. And this is a bit similar to the game continuation, so we might as well have a look at the game continuation. Black played g5, and now so white's king gets to threaten mate now with the rook, and then the bishop comes in, king e6, and these pawns are they're dropping off as well potentially. So takes, and actually this one isn't taken. I don't think it matters now. It's still winning even with king takes g5. This is even better, king g6. So white is threatening d6 and then mate, because that pawn will cut off here, and we cut off the king here, so that would be terrible. Black actually resigned in this position. So for example, if rook takes e4, then apparently the most incisive is check actually. Well, no, sorry, I saw this as sorry while I was reviewing the game. This wins the rook. With the check here, just wins that rook. So that pawn can't be taken. If king g8, now rook e7 is good with the idea of just d6. The pawns are just totally overwhelming. So I thought from the opening it was an interesting imbalance. I don't know how many of you thought this was bad for white. I mean, a quick poll here. Would you not like this position as white? How many of you fear being the exchange down? Because I thought this was quite interesting. I was the exchange down last night in the club match and managed to win that, as Thomas knows from the club match. But I don't know, how many of you like being exchanged down here out of interest? Did you think white had compensation, or do you think it was bad play or something? I don't know what your opinion is. It'd be interesting to know this, because this is really challenging our understanding of material equality. But if the position's so hard to play for black, I think, I mean, the elements are here to work with. The central pawns, the more aggressive king. I thought there was always compensation in this game. What do you guys think? While you're thinking about that, I'll set up another game now, which I thought was very interesting. So Anish Giri against Topalov. Is this chat still working? I hope it's still Oh. Okay, Anish Giri in Topalov against Topalov in round 5. Let's have a look at this game. So E4, C5, knight F3, D6, Sicilian defense, knight C3, knight C6. So we go into what's known as the Richter-Rauser variation in this game. Okay, Z on the previous game, I think the pass pawns are enough compensation. Thomas Vidias thinks I prefer black. He has to use his king to keep the central pawns going powerful. Okay, alright, so in this game, bishop G5, so this is Richter-Rauser, queen D2, A6, white castle's queen side. This looks very, very theoretical. Bishop D7 is the top move actually in live book here. This is what you're supposed to do, not move the bishop, which you might think. H6 is the second most popular. That's the third most popular. Bishop D7 is the main idea. F4, main move, main move, main move, bishop takes F6, main move G takes. You might wonder about queen takes. I don't think this is at all good, just out of interest. E5 is splat time, I think. D takes knight, D takes B5. The queen's got to protect D7. So G takes is generally played. King B1. Now here, usually Queen B6 is played. In the game we see B4. Okay, still quite a beaten path. Knight goes back to E2. Queen B6 now. And usually F5 in this position has been played. 36 games. This one's popular. This has been played a little bit. Knight F3 with 11 games, H4 with 5 games, Queen E1 with 5 games. This is what was played. Queen E1, Rook C8. We're kind of out of most of the book now. White plays H4. So we have a sharp Sicilian game. Knight A5, Knight C1, Knight C4. And I think black's already threatening the lethal Knight A3 check. I just want to check this. Say white obliviously played here. Or it's not. Oh, apparently it's not. Okay. No, this isn't totally lethal. No, white just has knight here. Alright, just checking. Rook H3 was played. A5. Now this was taken off. Rook takes C4. Knight Rook HD3. Okay, so an interesting position. White's actually looking quite secure for the moment, I think, with that knight on C1. Looks as though it's pretty secure. But it's a situation with, if you look at this, the two knights versus the bishop pair. And you might think, traditionally, we think the bishops are better than the knights, but in this particular position, yeah, the engine gives a slight advantage to white. The rooks seem better coordinated than black's rooks. There's complicated imbalances here. And actually the engine suggestion is actually E5 as a sort of threat, positional threat. Black plays H5, and E5 even here apparently is interesting to check, but G3 was played. Bishop E7. And again E5. Just out of interest here, E5, D5, F5. This is interesting stuff, and apparently this is equal, even though it looks as though it might be opening up the bishop pair. There's targets here. Apparently this is gonna be, well, it's perpetual check. I think that's why. Okay, so we'll go back. So Queen E2. This E5 wasn't played. Just the move Queen E2 was played. So ties the rook down, I guess, potentially, some lines. Bishop C8. Rook here. It looks a little bit like shuffling from white. But that was a danger diagonal, I guess. If rook wasn't played, this is almost getting dangerous. So prophylaxis against that. Bishop A6. Queen moves now. A4. Knight C E2. Bishop B7. So can black play without this rook at the moment? All of these pieces are doing something. These pawns look menacing. Bishop's not doing that much. Queen d3. Rook moves. And now the move c4, which apparently favours black a little bit more in theory. Suggestion queen a6 here. Queen a6. I don't know what this is doing. Black played king f8. Let's just check this. Queen a6. What do we play here with white? Say, I don't think b3 is that good because we're going to get slaughtered on the a file if b3. So black might just be threatening just to take here. What does white do? If rook c1. Oh, this is really nifty. Wow. This is a very powerful idea. Queen a6. Because if rook c1, can you see what black could do in this position? This is just a variation. Sorry, but it's absolutely crumbling for white spectacularly here. If black plays a certain move in this position, can you spot it in this variation? So what could black play here to cause white to crumble, as an example? So black to play in this variation. That's interesting. I think this is why c4, it kind of creates some weaknesses actually around white's king potentially. But how can black exploit this in this position if you were playing black? Any ideas? Nope. So no, it's not d5, but the clue is how would you put more pressure on e4, because this is quite vulnerable. How would you put more pressure on e4? That's a good clue though. e4. How would you target e4? No, black to play. Alright, I'll just show you. Black in this variation has queen a8, and it actually, how does white actually defend here? How does he defend? That would be pretty advantageous. So it seems this is actually a very, very powerful idea, just to play queen a6. So hitting here and also threatening this to hit here on this diagonal, which white's actually weakened this diagonal by playing c4. So it's interesting stuff. But in the game, maybe this wasn't the most appropriate thing then. Black left the queen there, so this battery idea is brilliant. Black played king f8, so Topolov's letting his advantage, that weakness of the last move. You know, this diagonal is interesting. So white now plays b3, so it seems to have like missed his opportunity to build pressure on e4. So rook g8. And this looks like a really strange idea actually, this next move. White voluntarily slices his own pawns. The engine is not suggesting doing b takes a4, knight b5 or queen e3, but white voluntarily slices his own pawns. He gets the b3 square, so he's now threatening things like knight b3 as well as knight b5. Gets that b3 square. Queen a6 is played now, and it looks as though queen a8 is again useful, as well as sitting here. Knight b5 though now. And in this situation, if queen a8 here, then we can actually take here, protecting this. So that's not as hot as before. So king g7 was played. If queen takes a4, knight takes d6 again, this is okay for white. So king g7, knight ed4, and it looks as though knight b3 is very nice. So voluntarily slicing the pawns does have this upside of being able to use the b3 square, and that's pretty dynamic thinking actually. You know, whenever we're taught about pawn structure and neat pawns, tactically there's this point that b3 is really useful here. It just looks like a great, you know, square for a knight, even though white's fractured the pawns. Okay, queen takes a4, f5, putting pressure on e6. This is the correct move apparently. Rook e5, now hitting e4 like this. Sorry for the echo there. Rook e1. And in this position, Tom, or anyone else, what would you play in this position if you had black here? And I think, so this is a round 5 game. I'm just going to check some notes while I'm asking you that. So black to play there, while I'm asking you that, I'm just going to find some notes on this. So this is at move 31. Yeah, at move 31. Topalov had a brilliant position, I think, here. Believe it or not, with the black pieces. I think it all is about the e4 square. Hi, is everyone still there? So black to play here. Yes, Sundiver. Yes. Good thinking. So black to play in this position, and it actually looks like quite a natural move. Yeah, that black can just build the pressure here with d5 in theory. So I don't know what the concern was in this position. Let's say c takes d5, then e takes. And if, you know, we go here, then d takes. What does white do? Queen b3, queen 8, queen. We can just take here, and then just end up taking here. And it looks very nice for black. It's strange d5 wasn't played. There must have been some reason it was rejected by Topalov. You know, it's pinned against this. I mean, d5. I know it temporarily blocks the bishop. What does white have tactically? I mean, if we go with queen f3, I don't know if this does anything. Here, maybe even stronger than this is taking here. If we take here, it's just too dangerous. White hasn't got anything on the king here. So d5 wasn't played. It's a shame. Technically, I mean, from a technical point of view, it's a shame. Black actually moved his king. So d5 is still on the cards. Queen 8 still useful. Now knight f3 though hits that rook, and unfortunately this is a real pain. If the rook goes to c5, then knight takes d6 is good. Yeah, so yeah, d5 had to be played whilst the rook was here, so that knight f3 is not a pain. It's a shame. So here, yeah, white is now much better immediately. The advantage has just flipped totally by a swing of about 3 units in computer terms. It's just a blunder. Yeah, it just seems to be technically a blunder not playing d5, allowing this. So okay, white wins the exchange, takes on d6, and is now threatening the bishop and other things. b3 was played. That's looking dangerous. So sacking bishop, very dangerous looking idea. This is taken, takes, king here, queen b4, queen b4. So with the idea of rook b8 and trying to mate with queen, not b1, no, sorry, that's protected enough, but queen b4 here, Let's just check. Well, the knight's kind of stranded, actually. I think that's the main point. The knight is stranded. The rook can't move because of this one. What? Oh, blimey. Sorry, battery is low. Hold on a sec. Pardon me. Hi. Sorry, my power wasn't in. It's in now. So in this position, Queen E3 was played. Threatening Queen H6 mate. So black reacted with F4. And it looks intuitively again as if you don't want to play this necessarily for this diagonal. This was taken though. It's not a problem. There's always E5. If E takes, well, the bishop's never getting to that diagonal. So or even just Queen D4 check here. What am I doing with this? Sorry. If instead of bishop takes H4, if queen takes B7 here, then F threatens Queen H6 check. So this would be much better for white, hitting all sorts of things. This is just much better for white. There's no compensation for black. So this is just desperate times now after bishop takes H4. Sound gone. Oh, no sound. Very little sound. Oh, blimey. Hold on a sec. Great. So less sound, yeah. Don't know. Oh, I'm afraid I don't know. Oh dear. And try that again. Thing mate. That's black gives his king square check, king g8. Now, by the way, yes, important note about this position here. This rook can't move. Well, there's queen b1. If yeah, the rook would. Topol was expecting this sort of. So yeah, f rook g4, queen h6. Okay, I'm trying a different USB port. What about this one? I'm trying a different USB port. Maybe it's the USB port issue, maybe it's overheating, maybe it's in meltdown, I don't know. You can hear something now? Testing. No sound again. It's a 20-second delay. What, now? Definitely not. No sound now. 1 2 3, 1 2 3 testing. There's nothing. No, it's okay. Oh, good. I tried a different USB port. Okay, it's the second one. Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Thomas, is it back? So anyway, here, so King G7. Well, black resigns here. If on King G7, there's check, and in this position, the forced mate is with Rook D6 check, King F5. Rook F6 check, King takes, Rook takes F7 check, and now if King E6 here, this is just winning soon. So like this, so that would be lethal. So yeah, this is a forced winning sequence here after check, check, check. Yeah, that's the crusher. If King G7, then Queen H6 mate. So if the king takes on E5, it is back, isn't it? Oh, sorry, where are we on this? King takes E5. Yeah, so there'll be so this is winning. Rook takes F7. Did someone have a question about this position here? So the move is Queen H8 and Rook D6. There's no, I don't think if Rook G8, this is okay as well actually. Check here. Maybe this is simpler. Check here. It's just winning the rook. That's much simpler. Because it's with check, actually, that's so much simpler. Yeah, probably that was looked at by the GMs. Okay, so check, and then check here just wins the rook. If Rook G5, we can, well, all sorts of things are winning. Check here, takes. Okay. So what do we learn from this game? Let's just go back. So actually black, it's amazing that to think, see this bishop B7 hitting E4, Queen D3 Rook C5 here, that kind of created a weakness. So a Sicilian player maybe looking at this game could learn something that, oh, battery time on E4, like that. That's really cute. But even later, it was right to put the rook on E5 to hit like this, but it just needed D5 as the follow-up. And it's just one move making a lot of difference here, because knight F3 to evict the rook, if not D5. So D5 was absolutely essential, it seems. Yeah, of course, all of this is easy in retrospect, because we haven't spent tons of energy during the game like they have, and we can look at things more scientifically and objectively, especially with engines, of course. So yeah, D5, there might have been some reason it was rejected. Let's go on to another game. So Topalov against Kramnik. I thought that this had some really interesting moves and resources in this one, and the kind of toilet gate affair from a few years ago, where all the computer accusations where Kramnik was going to the toilet frequently during a World Championship match, they haven't sort of been shaking hands ever since. So Topalov, playing white, played d4, Kramnik played knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, Nimzo Indian defense, knight f3, castles, bishop g5, black plays c5, and white here usually plays e3. Well, this is also very popular, rook c1. h6 was played. Often c takes d4 is played here. h6 was played, bishop drops back. Now c takes, knight takes. Often knight c6 is played from black here, but this has also been played before, d5. And here, usually white plays e3, but white, Topalov, played bishop takes f6. Voluntarily giving up the dark square bishop. Queen takes, c takes. And black now played rook d8. So it looks as though there's fierce pressure on the dark squares here for the pawn. White hasn't developed anything yet, so he just wants to play, develop e3. That's taken, and now queen b3, wanting black to give up the bishop here. If the bishop goes to a5, then white plays bishop e2 and looks forward later after castling to bishop f3 with pressure on b7 maybe. Interesting decision here. Black, I don't know if you've seen this game. Can you guess what black played in this position? I don't know how many of you have seen this game already. Can you guess? So Kramnik to play with black. Would you be tempted by it? What would you play with black in this position if you had black? Has everyone seen this game? See, actually, if you give up the bishop, white is going to be comfortable again. Queen takes. Say here, this is quite comfortable for white. Potentially this position. So black did something really radical. Yeah, exchange sack. Rook takes d4. Okay, so after e takes, knight c6, it looks really scary in one respect. Scary stuff. The bishop goes on at the moment. So bishop b5, queen f4, hitting the rook. White castles. Knight takes d4. Now, okay, the queen retreated to d1. Bishop takes c3. Rook takes c3, and it looks as though, well, if knight takes, what's going on? If knight takes, then white has check on d8, and then just taking on c8. This is good for white. So black supported that knight with e5 and brought out, he's bringing out his bishop. Bishop c4. That's slight downside here is this f7 square. Bishop d7. Now queen c1, wanting an exchange of queens. Queen f6, rejecting that. Queen e3. Bishop c6, pointing at the king. Bishop d3. Rook e8. And it looks as though e4 might potentially be on the cards. That's stopped. Bishop e4. Bishop b5. The rook moves. Queen a6, looking at knight e2 check to win the exchange. The rook gets out of the way, and now black snags that pawn. Queen takes a2, white takes the one on b7, a6 protecting the bishop. This might not be the most accurate move. Okay, no, a6 is okay. Now we see a very cunning move, b3, and it's based on f7. If knight takes b3, white just has this splat move, bishop d5, skewing there, hitting f7, which would actually win the rook as well. That's to be avoided. And if queen takes, that's not much better. Queen takes, knight takes, we've got this bishop d5. So there's echo of bishop d5 already here. And bishop d5 is on the cards now because the queen was on d5. So black tries to parry that. And spectacularly, in this position, it looks as though black's covering d5. Guess what white plays in this position? This really quite impressed me tactically, this resource. Well, I guess it's simple once you see it. So white to play here, what would you say, what can white do in this position? Hi, I hope the board's okay and everything. Is the board still okay, by the way? On my previous messed up. Oh, okay, let's just go back and then go back. Okay, I think. Okay, so in this position, can you guess what white played? Because black is actually threatening to potentially now just take on b3. So what would you do here with white? White to play? Yeah, amazing. Thomas, did you see this tactic, Thomas? Testing the tactics. Tactical Thomas. Yeah, amazing idea here. Bishop d5. So if takes, which wasn't played, then we got this check. Unfortunately, and then this check here. It's rather cunning to win the exchange. And this wouldn't be very good for black at all. So knight e2 check was played, king h1, knight f4, white takes on f7, and here perhaps most accurate would be rook b6, looking at this sort of thing eventually, but queen b6 was played, which leaves behind the d2 square actually, and that's pounced on. Rook g1, king h7, h3, rook d6, queen c7. We see bishop d7, queen b8, threatening mates now. h5, check, king h6. This is pretty bad actually for black now with this king chase. But before we go on for that, just before we get into that, sorry, there was a remarkable resource around here. I'm just going to check my notes. So this is at move 31 with rook g1 being played. So Topalov against Kramnik in round 6. So move 31. Right. There's an amazing idea here, which might have helped black a little bit, to play knight h3. So threatening this smothered mate. If that's taken, bishop e2, threatening this, and if queen c6, queen d3 threatening this, if bishop d5, then this would be harder for white to win this position. The pawns are fragmented, and black don't know, might be able to salvage something from this game. It's a really amazing resource available, this knight h3, because this diagonal threatens to be quite dangerous. So knight h3 is an amazing resource. It was missed, so king h7, and black is just swept off now. So h3 extinguishes that knight h3 as well. If knight takes h3 here, it doesn't really do anything anyway. Queen g6, and just taking here. Yeah, so h3, so rook d6, queen c7, threatens bishop g8 to play this, bishop d7, queen b8, threatens mate, check, bit of a king hunt now, check, takes, and here it's winning for white. This will do to win. Bishop takes h5. The king hunt's still on. Bishop takes h5. Knight takes, check, takes. The exchange up without any major resources facing white's king. Queen takes, check, check. Queen g4 check. And here rook d1 was played. This is good enough. Looking at d7, this is easily this should be easily winning. So rook takes, queen takes. White will just be the exchange up with these passed pawns. So say here we can just take this, and this is just winning. So black resigns here. I think after rook d1, black resigns. Yeah, but it could have been made a little bit more difficult with that knight h3 resource that black missed. So quite a complicated. So it wasn't totally without merit, the exchange sacrifice. It did create some, but this was genius. Bishop d5, and yeah, just around here, it's amazing. King h7. So this idea is just amazing, really. And I mean, also, if we just quickly look at this with rook d6, this doesn't help for bishop c6 because check. And if here, check here. Oh, this is just nothing. Yeah. So it's only with bishop e2 that this threatens to do something. Interesting stuff. Okay, shall we carry on next week, or just one more game? I'll just carry on next week. So there's some interesting games there. Sorry about the microphone issues. Should we just have one more game or carry on next week? What do you reckon? I'm just going to have a water break, Evian. So yeah, if yeah. One more game? Anyone? Okay, just one more game. I think I'm in meltdown. Temperature here is quite high actually today in the UK. Alright, so Grischuk against Caruana. Was this particularly interesting? I did cover a snapshot of this game on YouTube for the blunder, but I thought Caruana played very energetically with the black pieces. Caruana had the black pieces, and here played c5, and now after knight c3 dared to go into Benoni pawn structure territory, so he took on d5, and this kind of dreaded pawn structure, popular in the 70s, Mikhail Tal, but it's the fianchetto line, which might not be the most dangerous for black. So rook e8. After a4, you see, for me, this game was interesting for me because maybe some of you might think that, well, black plays like this, or maybe like this, or you know how to get b5 in. But this is really, really cool. Knight e4, really cool move. I thought after knight takes e4, rook takes. The point is this rook can install itself on b4, and that also stops knight c4 hitting the sensitive d6 square. So we're also hitting b2 as well. Rook a2, and even more interesting now is this next move. Well, a5, it seems to totally weaken b5, but black is going to drive through b5 on the very next move here. So b3, b5. And for me, this looks like a refreshing way of generating queenside counterplay. This looks like an exciting sort of position to have with the black pieces. So a takes, and now knight d7 was played. If rook takes, then knight c4, and white's better actually, with bishop f4 to follow. This d6 is tortured. Here black played knight d7, so if knight c4, crucially now there's knight e5 to challenge that knight immediately. So this would be okay, and then like this would be okay. So it's precision. This is total precision. Knight d7, very important. Knight d7. Knight e4 now was played, looking at d6. Queen e7. Queen c2. And now black is prepared to take on b5 now. Bishop g5. Knight f6. Queen d3, looking at the rook. Rook moves back. Queen e3, threatening. What is white actually threatening? Is white actually threatening anything? Well, queen f4, looking at f6 and d6. So black now plays h6. Bishop takes f6. If bishop takes h6, knight g4 is a bit of a pain. So we see bishop takes f6, bishop takes, queen f4, looking at d6, but you know, this b3, and we've got this a pawn. If b3 can be cleared away, we've got this a pawn. So bishop e5, queen takes, rook takes b3. But there's a nifty tactic in this position. Can you see what white played in this position, which maintains equality? Because otherwise black's having a really pleasant time with this pawn, but white throws a spanner in the works here. I don't know how many of you have seen this game. What does white play in this position if I gave you 20 seconds? Starting from now. Any ideas? I don't know how many of you have seen this game actually. I don't know if you've all been following this. So white's play here. It's certainly to equalise actually, because otherwise black is better. Have we still got the chat here? Yeah, knight takes c5. It's only good enough to equalise it. d6 there. So if takes d6, actually bishop d5 is even better for this. Bishop g7 takes. If here, then rook takes. Well, this is all getting a bit complicated. What is going on? Yeah, for this. So black actually ignored all this. Black just played rook b5. Knight moved back. Bishop g7. Queen d2. Okay, so white is a pawn. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. White is a pawn up. Yes, 5 against 4. a4. Queen c2. a3. Dangerous pawn. But now white sacrifices the exchange. Rook takes a3 to get this bishop here. Rook takes check. So getting rid of black's dangerous passed pawn with this exchange sack and setting up a fortress really. The bishop is guarding all the key points. So we get this fortress, rook c3 hitting the queen. Here, black is not, without any break points of white's position, this should have been a draw here, and this is the bit on YouTube coming up where basically white should have been able to hold this position in theory with say knight f4 even, but blundered badly coming up with queen a2. So queen a1, but after queen a2 that was horrible. So here, can you see what black played in this position? So a move 38, a crushing blow here. This is on YouTube as well. If you, maybe more of you have seen this. So black to play here. What did black play? What would you play here with black? 20 seconds starting from now. I thought the whole game by black was really cool, to be honest. I mean, from the start, I thought it was really interesting, you know, way to play the position with the Benoni structure. Yeah, Thomas, as the first one to mention, yeah, rook here. It's destructive because of this rook b2. So yeah, white had to resign really after this. I think he resigned on rook takes d3. Yeah, it's there's not even a check here because this queen has gone in that. If here we can just play check, me just take here, hitting the rook. It's all over. Okay. I don't know. Should we go on until I drop? Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want one more game or next week? I don't know how many of you are keen to go through some more. One more game. Okay, I don't know if yeah. All right, so this is interesting. I mean, I did collect a few PGNs, more than the session actually today. Carry on playing against Peter Zvidler. So this was quite interesting. Well, very interesting game. So very tactically complex game. So Caruana playing white, e4. So c5. We have Sicilian, Taimanov actually coming up. So knight c6, queen c7, bishop e3, a6, queen d2. Black played knight f6. I'm pretty sure this is really topical. This is main move, castling. Usually black has played bishop b4 here. Black actually played bishop e7. That's popular as well. f3. Castling has been played before here. That's quite popular, as well as h5 to try and inhibit g4. That's now a very popular move, h5. b5 in this game was played. And in response to this, often g4 is played here. But actually king b1 was played by Caruana. So he's not going in for this g4 business yet. Until this position now. After knight e5, he does play g4 here. What about knight e5? That is... black often plays h5 again to stop this g4 in this position. Even here. h5, I've got 40 games in my book to stop g4. So it's interesting, knight e5, g4, this move order. So we're now sort of out of book, mostly. b4, knight a4, h6. White plays now rook g1. And Peter Zvidler hits the centre with d5. White plays now bishop f4, pinning the knight. We see d takes e4. It's starting to open lines against the king here. g5. Is the king going to find a safe haven in this game? So h takes g, rook takes g5. That's defended. Hitting the rook. Rook takes g7. E takes f3. And the engine suggests this position is equal, actually. I think white's king looks a bit cozier slightly than black's, but apparently this is about equal. I don't know if this was home preparation or something. White now unleashed knight takes e6. So he's weakening this diagonal after f takes bishop d3 to be able to play this, because this is pinned. Bishop f6, bishop g6. And actually, this is really quite dangerous now. If king f8, I think knight takes g6 is virtually forced. If king f8, check, and rook g1 here is strong for white, threatening bishop h5 check. If knight takes g6, wow. Very complicated stuff. Rook takes f6 is black's getting slaughtered anyway here. He's also got his queen and pre. So basically this is not very good, this idea. If king f8, it's not very good because of this rook f7 business. And if king here, that's even worse, I guess. Bishop takes e5. It's slaughter time on d7. If bishop takes, oh, there's actually bishop queen g5 here. If here takes mate. So no, that's not very good. So black has to sacrifice the queen. So he plays, Peter Vidler plays knight takes g6. He's collecting a few pieces for the queen. Bishop takes c7. Bishop takes g7. Now queen d3, an accurate move. Apparently this is quite an accurate move. Apparently hitting the knight. So knight ge5. That's taken. Knight takes. No, sorry. Bishop takes was played. They're about the same. Queen e4 hitting the rook, and threatening potentially other things like queen c6 is also dangerous. Okay, so rook moves. Here you might think, I don't think this is useful to take here at all, because rook takes d7 and it's sort of back row problem. We can't do this. So much better knight c5, trying to undermine support on e5. So we can take here. King e7. Is king e7 the most accurate? Maybe it's not. It's a very difficult position, this indeed, here already. Black's pieces are kind of not, they're kind of a little bit scattered. The king's still a bit unsafe. So we see king e7 and rook f1 is played. Rook f1. If in this position knight takes, again rook takes d7, this position here, apparently this is okay. Black's got this pawn here. It could be quite tricky. Black's nearly okay. So we see actually this rook f1 trying to eliminate maybe this pawn safely. Rook f8. Now white does take on d7. Rook takes here. Rook d5. Queen e3. So if this pawn can be eliminated safely without a back row mate, that would be good. Now here, queen f2, a5, b3, sorting out the king for a moment. Rook g1. This pawn is a pass pawn to be used. Bishop c6, king b2. Now rook, actually this might have been a slight inaccuracy. I don't know, it's a difficult position. What is white actually threatening? White might just be doing this next move and getting that pawn up. So rook g8, rook f8, rook drops back. And here now, this structure is attacked with a3. So we've got the rook attacking b4. That's taken. King takes. King d6. Now the rook goes to c4, and this is getting a little bit more dangerous with these checks and stuff. Bishop d5. That c5 square has been taken away from the rook, so rook c8 threatens almost things like queen c5, c4 as well. King e5, and black resigned in this position. I think king e5 was played, but white stands a lot better here if king e5 was played. So with c4, black actually resigned. If c4, for example here, there's check, Let's go with check. No, what is white got here? Rook h8. It's coming in like this. If here, check, 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 Queen e3. Well, anyway, it seems as though either Peter resigned, or I don't know, he just seems to give up. I don't know, or lost on time. King e5, and that's given us 1-0 here. I just want to check a reference on this. So this is in round 2. So in round 2, I'm just checking other sources got King e5 as the last move. Yeah. So strongest might be c4 here. So c4, bishop e4, h4. Say rook d7. Rook e8. Yeah, white's just doing well, very well here. Yeah, it was given up there. So maybe there was a bit more play to go actually, to make it clearer for everyone. But yeah, it was given up. Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay, thanks. See you next week then. Tuesday next time. Hopefully less microphone issues next time. Okay, have a good week. Thanks very much. Okay.